welcome back to our channel. So today I'm going to take this, a chicken that we have processed ourselves. This is one of our chickens that we grew and processed, and I'm going to take it and I'll be back shortly to show you what it is. All right, so getting started, we do have the chicken face down in the crock pot. There's some butter, some chicken broth. You can use vegetable broth as well, and then there's some garlic and a little bit of seasonings. I use a chicken blend and kind of mix in a couple other things myself, and then we're gonna let it cook 4 to 6 hours. All right, so the first meal that I'm going to prep today is bourbon chicken. I want to get it prepped and I want to get it put in the fridge because I want it to marinate for at least 24 hours so we can have it tomorrow. So the next meal would be vegetable soup, and then open-faced roast beef. Now I'm going to use the roast beef that we got at the discount store that I shared with you guys. I'm going to use my meat grinder there and chop it all up. And I'm going to separate this out while I do it. So I'm going to have some that is going to be for our lunches. And then the other would be for the roast beef, open-faced, hot shot, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm going to go ahead and package this up so I can freeze some of it. The next thing would be Mongolian beef and broccoli, chicken pot pie, tater tot casserole. Now this is a fan favorite in my household, tater tot casserole. And we're just going to make it and put it away and then bring it out, put it in that crock pot and let it cook. Mexican chili, or some people call it taco soup. This one is made with shredded chicken. So those are going to be our 7 meals plus today's meal that we're going to make today and put away in the freezer. I'll be sharing my month's worth of meals with you throughout this month. So click the like and the share and enjoy. All right, so in the skillet I have 4 pounds of hamburger that is all chopped up together. I added some garlic and salt and pepper. I like to season along the way to add depth of flavor. So when I take this and separate it out into different things, I'll flavor it more. Obviously you don't want to flavor the same things because you want to be able to use it for multiple meals. So I'm going to let that cook down. We'll drain it and then we will add it to one of our recipes. All right, so we have 4 pounds of ground beef that has been cooked thoroughly, drained off. I took it off the burner and I'm gonna let it sit here and cool down before we put it in the bags that we're going to use for other meals. And in the meantime, I'm going to go over here and put together the bourbon chicken. So come along with me. All right, so in this bag here, I have 2 large chicken breasts diced up, as well as 4 chicken thighs. And it's drizzled with a little bit of salt and pepper and a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. Now, I do dice my chicken breasts smaller than I do my chicken thighs. And as you probably know, chicken breast tends to dry out a lot quicker and a lot easier than chicken thighs. So that's why I do that. My other ingredients here I have is 1 cup of honey. I try to use honey that has been harvested here in Ohio, if possible, in my recipes. I also have a little over a fourth a cup of ketchup. I have a half a cup of soy sauce. I have 2 garlic clove, maybe 3, that's been minced. And I love keeping these containers because, for instance, when you're meal prepping, I like to put everything in these little containers so I can just drop and go. Measure everything out, and that way for each recipe that you make, you just have things ready. Or if you're going to put vegetables in and things, go ahead and chop up all your vegetables and put them in little bowls, and then you can just grab from those bowls and put them in each recipe. It makes things go quicker and smoother. Another tip would be if you did your dishes along the way as you're prepping, because then if you have ever done this, you know that it does take a little bit of time, and you're doing instead of one dinner, you're prepping 7 or 8 dinners at a time, or maybe more. Maybe you're prepping a month's worth. So at the end, you're going to be tired. So it's better to just do them as you can along the way when, you know, your hamburger's cooking, or, you know, whatever it may be. Also, I always prep one meal. So instead of, if I'm prepping for 7 days of meals, I prep an 8th day and put it, like I did, in the crock pot. That way it can be cooking while I'm doing this. So when it's all said and done, I have dinner and 7 other meals. Okay, so a couple other things I have here in this cup is about 2 tablespoons of water, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, all mixed in and ready to go. This will help thicken your sauce as it cooks. So I've got that, and then I've got a 1/4 of a teaspoon of red pepper flakes ready to go. And the last thing we need is some bourbon. Now I like Southern Comfort. I usually put anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 of a cup in there and let it 1, marinate overnight, and then 2, cook out throughout the day. The smell that is going to be in your kitchen is mwah. So let's go ahead and add these things to the bag, and then I'll show you what it looks like at the end. In goes the garlic, and in goes the cornstarch mix and the ketchup. And then I've got the red pepper flakes, and I'm gonna add in my bourbon. I'm gonna add a little more than 1/4 cup, but a little less than 1/2. All right. Now, usually you would want to go ahead and label your bags before. I forgot this morning, so I'll do that shortly. So I just massage it all together. And I actually don't have to label it because I'm going to use it tomorrow, so I'm not gonna worry about it. This is what you have to put in your crock pot. Let it cook 4 to 6 hours, and then take it out and put it over top of rice, and it is so good. Here's another tip. I like to take an extra trash bag, collect all of my trash from today, because you know the chicken containers, when you've used them, and then like if you're just changed your trash, it starts to stink. So I want to go ahead and get all of that in here. That way I can just take it out and throw it in the trash, and then my regular trash doesn't stink. All right, so our next recipe is tater tot casserole. It is a fave, probably one of the #1 meals that my family loves. So I have some tater tots in the bottom of the bag. I have 1 can of cream of mushroom soup. I am going to add about 1/2 jar of the beef gravy. I'm then going to add a packet of the au jus. And I'm going to try this flavor up that I had got at the store the other day, that discount store, just to add another depth of flavor. Now I'm going to add in a little bit of the hamburger. I'm going to add in another can of the cream of mushroom soup, and then add the rest of the hamburger in. And then here is your second meal. So what I do is I make sure that my hash browns are on the bottom in the bag, because when it's all said and done and you go to pour it in your crock pot, your hash browns are now at the top, and you can put your cheese on top. Now you can put the cheese in here. I suggest you put it, put the hash browns, then on top of the hash browns put your cheese, and then put your other layers. That way your cheese does not stick to your bag. But I just like to do it where I put everything else in there and then top it with cheese that morning. The other thing that I do is I make sure that everything is really good and incorporated. All of the cream of mushroom soup, all of the beef gravy that we have in here is all incorporated together. I make sure that I squish it down, get all of that air out. And then I also make sure that it's kind of, you know, in a ball down here. I don't flatten it out. That way I can just cut across here and then flip it over and dump it in the crock pot, and it's about the size. Instead of making it flat and then you have to wait for it to thaw out a little bit before you can, you know, work with it. So that's something I've learned over the years that I like to do for most of my meals. Now it does make it easier if you don't have a big deep freeze. If you do flatten it out, you just have to thaw it out a little bit before you can work with it. All right, so that is the third meal that we have made so far. This is tater tot casserole ready for the freezer. And it's been about 30 minutes from placing the chicken in the crock pot and letting it cook and frying up my hamburger, creating the meal for the bourbon chicken, and now we've got the meal for the tater tot casserole. All right, so our next meal that I have the hamburger already in here for is going to be our vegetable soup. So I'm going to add a jar of freshly canned tomatoes from our garden. Now this may need a little more the day of, but I also want to make sure that this is incorporated into my hamburger. It gives a good flavor. I also have some onion powder. I'm going to put some celery salt in here. Measure with your heart. I'm going to add in maybe some garlic, minced garlic. Sometimes I do my own, sometimes I just buy this that's already minced to add in there. That's probably about a clove of garlic, maybe 2. I'm going to add in my vegetables and chop up my potatoes real quick, and then I'll add all that in and show you. All right, so I have added everything to the bag now. So we had our hamburger, we had a jar of tomato juice. On the day of, I will add another jar of tomato juice. I also have in here, I've got some diced, probably about 5 good sized diced red skin potatoes that have been washed and diced up really good. I've got some corn, I've got some green beans and peas, and carrots and onions. I added in some salt and pepper, and then you saw that I added in some onion powder as well as some celery salt. And then the day of, I will also chop up some purple cabbage and place it in here. Oh, it's so good. Tell me if you like to butter crackers and eat it with your vegetable soup. Let me know in the comments. All right, so our next meal is Mexican chicken. I have probably a chicken breast and a half diced up really small, as well as 2 chicken thigh. Then I'm going to add a can of drained black beans. I'm going to add a jar of my corn, sweet corn here. I'm going to add in a packet of taco seasoning. And then all you have to add now is your, you can do salsa. You can, now my salsa is a medium salsa that I can, that I'm gonna pour in here. Or you could do, you know, a jar of salsa and add in some jalapenos or the little chilies, green chilies. So I'm going to go ahead and get this ready, and then move on to our next meal here. All right, so apparently my daughter and I ate all of our salsa that we have that was freshly canned. So I can either purchase a jar or make some fresh. If I purchase a jar, I'm probably going to add in some green chilies and maybe a small amount of a pepper in here. But for now, I just went ahead and added in a little bit of canned tomato juice to help get the packet of taco seasoning incorporated, and I will get that jar and add it the day of. All right, so our next meal is chicken pot pie. I've got some chicken breasts and chicken thighs diced up small in here, and then I'm going to add in my other ingredients. Okay, so I have added a jar of my corn. I have some green beans in here, some peas and carrots with my chicken breast and chicken thighs. All right, so I'm gonna add in some vegetable broth. I actually already have it open, so I'm just gonna add it in. I'll add a little bit of chicken bouillon to make sure that the flavor is there. I'm going to add in 2 cans of chicken, cream of chicken, maybe. Or maybe I'm gonna add in 1 can of cream of chicken and 1 can of cream of mushroom. Oops, it's okay, it all tastes good. I'm gonna add in some onion powder, salt and pepper, which I already have, and then some celery salt. Everything tastes better with garlic, and you can't make me change my mind on that, so a little bit of minced garlic. That is your next meal. So I have incorporated all of that, and then you can do an open-faced chicken pot pie, which is what I have here. Now this is all my ingredients. It will freeze. Again, I try to make it where it is frozen and I can just cut the top of the bag and dump it in. So I will do this as an open-faced, and what I mean by that is I just buy the flaky biscuits, I bake those, or we put it over top of bread. But first I mash some potatoes, and then I put that over top of the flaky biscuits. Then I add my chicken pot pie, and it is to die for. All right, so our next meal is Mongolian beef and broccoli. And in this container I have mixed together, let's see, so I've got 3/4 of a cup of soy sauce, 3/4 of a cup of water. I have some cornstarch to mix into here, and that's why I mix it in a container where I can blend it. You can use an immersion blender. That works great. It blends everything together. I have some brown sugar in there, probably about 3/4 of a cup. I'm going to add in, on top of my beef, I'm going to add in a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, mix that up really well. Then I'm going to pour this mixture on top. And then I just need to pull a bag of frozen broccoli and just put it in here. And then there's your next meal. So I did add in some minced garlic, and on the day of, I'll add some shredded carrots and have it over rice. All right, so our last meal of the day is going to be our open-faced roast beef. So I have chopped up, sliced up all of my roast beef. Some is a little bit thicker, some's a little bit thinner. And then I also have a bunch over here that I've chopped up and we can use for lunches this week. And that really saves me time. That really saves me money, because I bought this, as a full roast beef. I actually still have half of it that I'm going to chop up and refreeze because it's still pretty froze. So if you're going to do this, let it be a little bit froze when you do chop it. It cuts a lot better. So I'm going to go ahead and chop it up, and then it will be for our lunches, or if we want to have this again, we can do that. I'm going to add in a packet of the au jus gravy, the rest of the beef gravy from the other recipe. I am going to put a little bit of water in here, make sure I get all this goodness out of here. And then, I think I'm going to go ahead and add some of this flavor up and see how it tastes in here as well. And then that's it, folks. So I'm going to show you what meals we came up with today in probably a little over an hour between all of the prep and all of the preparing. All right, so this is what we ended up with today. We've got some Mongolian beef. We've got some Mexican chicken. We have the open-faced roast beef, the tater tot casserole, and the vegetable soup. We also have chicken pot pie and the bourbon chicken that's going to marinate in the fridge all night, and we're going to have it for dinner tomorrow. On top of all of these, so we've got 7 meals here. The 8th meal is actually in the crock pot right now, and it's going to be the chicken and gravy that we will have this evening once the chicken is done cooking and I have shredded it and added in the gravy. So 8 meals in just a little over an hour with all prep and everything. All right, so listen, if this is your first time doing the actual prep like this, keep in mind, it may take you a little longer at the beginning until you get a routine down. What's really gonna save you time is having the trash bag to throw all the trash away as you're doing it, having bowls put out and cutting up all of your vegetables all at once. But most of all, having print out a little calendar for the month, and then you can write down, like I have done here, all of the the meals that you're going to have. So you know whether you do a week's worth, you do a month's worth at a time, whatever your space can account for. Then you can have everything chopped up, ready to go. You can drop it in the bag. You definitely want the bag holders that hold your Ziploc bag so you can just go down the line and drop things in. That's going to save you a lot of time. Doing cleanup along the way is also going to save you a lot of time in the long run. And the good thing is I have 8 meals that I made here in a little over an hour today. And I have some chicken left over and some beef left over that I can use for next week's meals. So if you liked what you saw today, please like, subscribe, share, be notified, because I'll be doing more of these. And they're not all going to be the same meal. Like I said, I like to have a variety of things. So I hope you try this. Let me know if you try it in the comments, if there's a recipe that you really like, and I will see you next time. All right, so it has been 6 hours, and this chicken was so tender that it fell off the bone, and it took me forever to get it out of the crock pot. I ended up having to strain out the bone, the little small ones. So anyway, I went ahead and made a gravy out of 1 can of cream of chicken soup, about 1/2 to 3/4 of a cup of heavy cream, some chicken bouillon granules, a little bit of water, and a onion soup packet. I did all that and put it back in there, shredded it up, warmed it up real good, and this is what we have, and it is delicious. So I hope y'all have a great week, and I will see you soon.